power. The speed combined with strength to make a true champion. That's what Leander Paes is. The year 1990 signaled the arrival of this star of the tennis firmament. In the junior event of the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open, this Calcutta lad finished runners-up. But he really hit the headlines when he won the Junior Wimbledon in the same year, becoming the third Indian after Ramanathan and Ramesh Krishnan to win the coveted title. Are such champions born or made, or is it a bit of both? Is sporting ability dependent on genes, or is it dependent solely upon training? How did the current Indian tennis star, the irrepressible Mercurial Leander Paes, develop? Born in 17th June 1973, it was natural for Leander to have a passion for sports. Being the son of international sports celebrities like Jennifer Paes, who played basketball for India, and Dr. Wes Paes, who was the sterling centre-half for India's world-class hockey team. Right from childhood, he was a natural in many games. But the moment he held a racket, the intensity of his love for tennis became obvious.
Dr. Paes, when did you first have the inklings of a tennis champion in Leander?
Well, I remember when he was 5 years old, we bought him a racket from Sri Lanka, and I gave it to him, and then we brought him across to the Dalhousie Institute Club. And I gave him the racket with a couple of balls. I said, now hit against the wall. And since I'd just come back from a trip, I was sitting with friends at the bar chatting to them about the trip, and I totally forgot about Leander. 2.5 hours later, I come on the court and I find him still hitting against the wall. And that's when I realized not that he was particularly fond of tennis per se, but the intensity of his interest in sport. And so then we started working on him specifically after that.
His talent was apparent when he won a scholarship to the bat in 1985.
You first came into prominence when you joined the bat scheme.
The coaches, David O'Meara, Ted Murray, T.J. Hyman, the other coaches that came in, and T. Chandrasekhar, our Indian coach, did a lot for me personally. I know they helped all the boys, but from my side, they really honed my talent. They brought out the best in me, and it was a very disciplined schedule with my studies, with my tennis, with my training. We led a very disciplined life for 4.5 years, and I think from the age of 12 to 17, that's what an athlete really needs.
Tennis as a game demands a great deal of physical fitness and mental agility. Under the guidance of David Moyer at bat, he had excelled in many areas. Strokes became powerful and consistent. Serves got deeper and better placed. Volleys became more incisive and lethal. It was a transitionary period for the boy who was growing up, determined to make his presence felt in the national and international circuit. A quick glance over his performances shows his rapid, creditable progress. 1987, National Under-14 Champion in singles. Rice Bowl Championship in Hong Kong in singles. 1989, ITF Tournament, Under-18 Champion in singles and doubles. National Under-16 and Under-18 Champion in singles. In 1989, he was selected for the ITF Junior Touring Team. And then came the glorious year of his career, 1990, when he not only brought laurels for himself, but also enhanced his country's prestige. He won the Wimbledon Junior title, the US Open Junior title, became runners-up in the Australian Open, and was also ranked the joint #1 junior in the world by the ITF.
At the Australian Open and victorious in the Wimbledon and the US Juniors.
I remember almost every match that I played. I'm not certain about the players' names sometimes, when it's a long time ago, but I do remember mostly all the matches I've played, and I think any sportsman would do that. And my junior career was great. It went off really well. I worked very, very hard for it, and I think that's why I got the gains. That's why I got the results that I did get.
Undoubtedly, 1990 was a landmark of his career till date. His outstanding achievements brought him the country's prestigious sports award, the Arjuna Award. Despite stiff opposition, the then Indian Davis Cup captain Naresh Kumar brought Leander on in the doubles tie against Japan at Chandigarh.
You were the captain of the Indian Davis Cup team when Leander made his debut versus Japan in 1990. What traits did you see in him that you gave him that early break?
Well, I remember that afternoon very well when he arrived for Davis Cup practice. I was very impressed with his great athleticism. He moved beautifully. He had a lot of spirit and he seemed to have a lot of courage. And you know, when I picked him, I was severely criticized, and even till today many of the players are saying that I didn't give them a chance and I'm being blamed for that. But he has a certain unpredictability about him which is very good for doubles play. He's an instinct player.
Excellent down the line from Leander Paes.
I was surprised to play in that tie, but I wasn't surprised to be on the team. In fact, when I reached the finals in Junior Australian Open, my father called and said that I was asked to join the Davis Cup team, and that was a big, huge thrill for me, because ever since I was 12 years old and I did join the Amitraj Academy in Madras, that was what we worked for, to try and play Davis Cup for our country and to try and take India to the finals of the world group. It was a very, very long match for Zishan and myself when we played Matsuoka and Ito. We won 18-16 in the fifth. A lot of things happened during that match. We had a swarm of bees come on the court. I got cramps in my right thumb. Zishan hit his knee, I believe, once. So a lot of things did go on, and there were a lot of things to overcome, let alone our opponents. And we finally did win, and that was huge for me, where it showed that with a little bit of effort, with a little bit of more effort, a lot of things can happen.
It was the Davis Cup trio of Naresh Kumar, Ramesh Krishnan and Leander Paes that continued to storm the world. Respected high-ranked opponents like Great Britain, Switzerland and France were made to bite the dust in consecutive ties. And the key factor in this combination was the never say die, emotionally pumped up Leander.
Leander has produced some fabled performances under your captaincy in the Davis Cup, stifling opponents irrespective of ranking and stature. Do you attribute this to his killer instinct?
Well, you know, I think Leander plays very well on an occasion. He likes a crowd, and crowd really, he feeds off the crowd. He's against or for is not the point. It raises something from deep inside him, and I think he's a fantastic player for an occasion. He can get hyped up, he moves beautifully, and his athleticism is applauded. He likes a challenge, he likes a crowd, so he then plays far above himself. I don't think in the history of the Davis Cup in India we've had a player who's achieved so much while being so lowly ranked. Okay, all of them had wins, but then his 2 victories in Frejus, I don't think many Indian players, or perhaps any Indian player, could have done it.
You have produced some thrilling victories for India over players much higher than you in rankings and stature in the Davis Cup. How has it all come about?
See, I just answer that in the sense that everything's taken care of. Your practice timings, the practice balls, your practice partners, the car to get you from the hotel to the courts and back, your food, your meal times, your tickets, your passport, your visas to get to wherever you're playing, whether you're playing abroad or you're playing in India. Basically everything is looked after. So the easiest thing to do is play tennis, is to work hard and play tennis and play a match.
How then did Leander become a champion? His current status did not come magically overnight, but was a product of hard, appropriate training and practice. His father, Dr. Paes, started grooming him from a tender age.
How did you program him initially?
Well, basically, when you look at programming any coordinated child, you look at from 5 to 8, you look at building up their coordination, from 8 to 12, building up their technique in the particular sport you choose, and then from 12 to 13 to 15, 16, you build up their tactical sense, and then from 16 onwards, you build up their strength. So that's how we took Leander. From 5 to 8, we allowed him to play all games, which included running, swimming, and cycling. These are the 3 basic movements every child should have. So he played about 5 or 6 sports, and then he swam. He had a cycle which he was cycling on. At 8, we brought him down to 2 or 3 sports. That means we allowed him to play tennis, badminton, we allowed him to swim, and he played cricket and football, hockey at his school. So we said, okay, now you play from 8 to 12, we play these sports, and at 12 we'll decide which is your best sport. And so that's how we took him.
You are a doctor. You must have looked after his training schedule and his dieting, etc.
Yeah, as a child we didn't put too much emphasis on his exercise program or on his dietetics, because basically you're trying to build up an interest in the game. You're trying to make it fun. So if you do too many things in the child, they get bored with the sheer repetition of what you're trying to get across to them. But definitely once he joined the BAT program, then the fitness program came in, the dietetics came in, and that's an area I think where if Leander has got some advantages over the other promising tennis players in India, it is that these areas were done very specifically for him.
His current training schedule, I understand he's going through cycles where he reaches his peak and then it comes down, something like that?
Yeah, every player, we have what we call competitive peaks. So we choose about 4 peaks in the year, where it's generally the 2 Davis Cups that he's programmed for, and it will be 2 other tournaments. So we choose these 4 peaks, which would be at 3 monthly intervals, and we set up his whole physical training and his tennis training towards these 4 peaks. Now, because professional sport has got so many tournaments, he's playing 30 tournaments in the year, so that means he's involved for maybe 10 or 12 months, 10 to 11 months in the year with competition and training. So now we also have mini peaks. That means you have these 4 major peaks, and then in the every 1.5 month cycle, we allow him another mini peak as such. So everything's based on that. His fitness program, his dietetics, his massage, his recovery program is based towards these peaks and these mini peaks.
Dr. Paes molded Leander's career. He was not afraid to take risks, to switch from one academy to another when it was needed.
I left BAT Academy straight after the Asian Games in Beijing in 1990, and after that I was under Rico Piperno in Calcutta. We used to train. After I won the Junior US Open, I met up with the Hopman's Academy. I met up with Dr. Jack Groppo, and he took my father and myself down to Tampa, and we spent a week there, a week to 10 days. We trained under Pat Etchenberry. We worked under Dr. Jim Lear, he's a mental toughness trainer, and we also trained with the coaches there. It is a fantastic facility. Pat Etchenberry, to me, is the best physical trainer in the world. In tennis, he coaches Courier, Sampras, he coaches Bruguera, he was coaching Seles and Agassi, he coaches Jennifer Capriati, not right now, obviously, but he's a very good motivator, training with Tony Roach in Sydney, and I feel is a fantastic coach for me. I think he's the best coach I could train under, because we got the same styles of play, we got the same somewhat thinking of play, and I think that's what I need. So right now I'm very, very happy with my training facility.
You have put Leander into the tennis academy at the Harry Hopman Center in the USA, and now at Tony Roche in Sydney. It must be a quite expensive affair.
Yeah, the bottom line at an international level comes to about $200,000. To give you some idea, you just look at the technical people, the coaching staff. His traveling coach charges about $50,000 a year plus expenses. The expenses would mean his airfare, his board and lodging, which would come to another $25,000. A coach like Tony Roche, who's a specialist coach, charges anywhere between $750 to $1,000 a day. So that's another $30,000 a year if you just take him for 30 days in the year. Then his sports psychologist, his biomechanical expert, and his physical trainer where he does it at the LGE Center, they charge $12,000 a year as a composite program. So that's just the technical side. Then we have his board and lodging for Leander himself would cost us about $50,000 a year. His tennis rackets, although we get the tennis rackets for free, just the strings and the stringing charge comes to $10,000 a year. Okay, so these are the types of expenses you're looking. His airfare for himself comes to 8 lakhs a year. So if you take his coach, that's another 8 lakhs. His sports drinks, which is based on the everyday's training program and competition, comes to $7,000 a year. So this is how big it is. And if you don't do it, you're not going to make it because every other international player is doing it.
Apart from the painstaking, persistent efforts of Dr. Paes to bring Leander into big-time tennis, there were others who helped him whenever he needed them.
Sir Naresh is not our Davis Cup captain right now. I am grateful to him throughout my whole life for helping me with my tennis and with me as a person. I think he's been a very big influence on me, and he's always somehow given me very good advice, whether it is certain strokes on the court, certain strategies with my mental training on the court, with shot selection, or with even off the court with me as a person.
You were understudy to Ramesh Krishnan in the Indian team for some time. Was he very helpful to you?
That's right. I think at that point of time, what was good was Ramesh and Sir Naresh were there together. So again, there was so much learning to do. They were both senior than me. They had both done more than what I have achieved. And I think it's, you always learn from people like that. They've been through the ropes and you're learning. You're a newcomer. You learn new stuff from them.
Tennis, tennis, tennis. Is that all to Leander? Not at all. He has his own world too. There is still a long way to go. Whilst the extra charge generated in Davis Cup ties when playing for his country ignites him to be at his best, in many other competitions he has performed ordinarily, losing to unknowns. He is inconsistent and unpredictable at times, according to some observers.
I'm sure that if he works hard and improves his ground strokes, improve his, especially low volley, he's going to be very, very tough. Especially he had to improve his second service.
Few drawbacks are that he still needs to be a little more consistent with his serve and his ground strokes.
In many of these tournaments, you have to play in an outside court with bad conditions and no crowd applause, and also he needs a lot of backup.
You would agree, Leander, that you have not been as consistent as people have expected you to be. Your performance has been somewhat spasmodic. What has been the reason?
People have a lot of expectations from me. I can't change that from their mind. People are going to expect all sorts of stuff. They expect me to win Wimbledon soon. They expect me to win every Davis Cup match that I play. I don't blame them for that, but at the same time, I got to know where I come from. I got to know what I can do and do that to the best of my ability, which is giving it everything I've got. And as long as I do that, whether it's Davis Cup or on the tour, and I keep learning and getting better with things, I'm happy for myself, because the only person that I've really got to please and really make sure that knows is going well is me. And as long as I see that, everyone else will probably believe that. And even if they don't, I can't please everybody, and I can't spend time and waste time going about pleasing everybody. I've got to do what I've got to do best for my tennis, and as long as I do that, I hope everybody else will see the effort that I do put in.
Well, I personally think that he is going to break in because he likes to work hard. He has all the opportunity. He has a lot of sponsorships coming on his side, and people to try and help him. And this is the thing you need when the player is coming up. We must try and help him to come into. And the Davis Cup matches, we are sure that we have one top player. Other good players are all there, but Leander is the one trump card.
I've been very happy with his progress, and one of the things I've been very happy about is that his progress has been very slow. Quite often people hit the top very quickly and then they find that they haven't gone through the preliminaries. He's going through the preliminaries. I think these are very important for him to get a solid foundation, to learn how to tackle the press, how to tackle all the various pressures that come on you. So, I mean, it's been very good that he has come up gradually. And of course now, I think he's on the verge of a breakthrough in the top 100. Once he gets into the top 100, then I think we can expect big things from him.
My main goal is to try and be the best tennis player that I could ever be. To really, at the end of the day, when I do retire, sit down and say that, Leander, you gave it every single thing you had from the time you started till now to be the best tennis player you could ever be. And that's, I think, the only and the best way that I'd be able to represent our country, and more than that, be able to represent myself. I can't promise rankings, I can't promise victories, but what I can promise is my effort. What I really can promise is giving it every single thing I got, the best that I know.
When will he start winning more and more prestigious trophies? When will he realize his and our dreams?